Now here with more. Author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, On Freedom of the Press. I call him the Great One. His new time, the host of Life, Liberty, and Lavin, Sunday nights at 8 p.m. And by the way, blew the roof off the ratings on Sunday in your new time. He's also a nationally syndicated radio talk show host because I insisted on it. Long personal story. All right, Great One. These are serious times. This is what you do. This is your wheelhouse. Constitutional law. You have a lot to add to this national nightmare they're creating.
I'm still getting through the Mueller report here, actually. That we spent years and years on, the Mueller report and $40 million and congressional hearings and Mueller, and they connected the dots and they found all kinds of... I'm still on page 397 of the Mueller report, and then they throw Ukraine at us. It's hard to keep up, Sean. Anyway, after we were attacked at Pearl Harbor, Admiral Yamamoto of Japan, he said, "I fear all we have done is to awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve." You know, Adam Schiff, you are in some ways Admiral Yamamoto. You just awakened a sleeping giant. You threw everything you had at the president, at the Republicans, at 63 million voters who voted for this president, and this is the best you have? This is the best you have? You have nothing. And you controlled everything. You controlled the witnesses. You controlled the information. You interrupted the Republicans. You had control over the hearing room, control over the rules and the timing and the press events, and you'll have control over the charging document. You're the Democrat Party's Yamamoto. And even now, with all the control that you've had, and all the positive press, and all the clownish legal analysts and the rest, and the propaganda that they're pushing and they're celebrating, the polls for Donald Trump are going up. Now, once the Senate has control over this, there's no more Adam Schiff control. There's no more Nancy Pelosi control. There's no more of the mobster types that we saw in the Democrat Party, preening and beating their chests. And the American people, they revere their Constitution. They cherish their franchise. And they demand fairness from their representatives. And let me tell you something, Democrats, you screwed up big time. This was the weakest conga line of hand-picked witnesses I've ever seen in any hearing at any time. There's no smoking gun. Overwhelmingly hearsay. Basically, what did we have here? A small cabal of State Department and NSC bureaucrats who didn't like Trump or his policies. Yet every single one of them, when pressed by the Republicans, had to admit no bribery, no extortion, no quid pro quo, no impeachable offense. And the media thought, wow, with headlines that are incomprehensible. Not a single witness could or did accuse the president of criminality. Only a single witness had directly spoken with or met with the president about any of these issues. And he said, no, the president didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. We look at Ukraine. We're getting these lectures from the witnesses and the Democrats. Ukraine needed the aid. They needed offensive military aid. We need it for geopolitical reasons. Their witness today, Fiona Hill, she was just, I can't believe the president did this. Look what he's doing. He's empowering the Russians. And she wrote a few years earlier a long op-ed saying, don't give the Ukrainians the military aid they're asking for. As a matter of fact, the Democrats and their great leader, Barack Obama, he refused to give Ukraine the offensive military weapons they were looking for. So despite all these bureaucrats testifying, they couldn't get the weapons that Ukraine wanted under Obama. There were no hearings. There were no headlines. It was Trump who got the Ukrainians the weapons that they needed. It was Trump who stopped the Russians. It was Trump who put the most severe sanctions in modern history on the Russians. It was Obama who appeased the Russians. It was Obama under whose presidency the Russians invaded Ukraine and annexed Crimea. If you want to impeach, then we need to retroactively impeach Obama. Now, this will move to the United States Senate. Let's hope the Republicans, for once in their life, grow a spine. I want to remind the Republicans, including the half dozen or so, who went out, we cannot reveal the whistleblower. Read your damn law. You wrote it. Read your law. The so-called whistleblower is not a whistleblower under your law. The so-called whistleblower's complaint right here is not covered by the statute that you wrote. The phone call between President Trump and President Zelensky is not covered by the statute you wrote. President Trump is not covered by the statute you wrote. And the so-called whistleblower is not anonymous under the statute, is he? So the president's lawyers will finally get a shot at the whistleblower who never wrote this complaint. And they will get to ask him. They will get to say, I know his name, I'm not allowed to say. I know all about him, I'm not allowed to say. But it's time that sham comes to an end. A president gets to confront the person who's challenging him. Now, here's some of the questions for Mr. Whistleblower. Who was involved in writing the complaint? Who advised him to use the whistleblower statute to create this false protection? Did he speak to Adam Schiff or Nancy Pelosi or any Democrat members of Congress directly or through surrogates? What did he discuss with Schiff's staffers who formerly were the NSC? Did he speak to, we want to know yes or no, Lieutenant Colonel, or Mr., may I say, Vindman, or not? We want to know all about this whistleblower because the whistleblower wants to bring down the President of the United States. Moreover, we want Hunter Biden. We want Hunter Biden not because of anything in our imagination or right-wing conspiracy theories, because you folks at Politico and the New York Times and other places, you've told us about Hunter Biden. You've told us about the Bidens. Don't we have a right as the American people to know if the individual who may be nominated as the Democrat nominee for President of the United States is a crook? Is that the only family in American history who's not to be investigated? I don't think so. And one other thing. This is the so-called whistleblower's complaint. This has been Adam Schiff's playbook from day one. Adam, did you write this? Adam, were you involved in writing this? Because Adam needs to be a witness too. We want to know all about Adam. We know he's a liar, but we need to put him under oath under penalty of perjury. When you go through this complaint, you can see this was Adam Schiff's playbook from day one, page after page after page. You know what this was? This was a shadowy exercise by Schiff, his staff, this whistleblower, the lawyers, and the Democrats to bring down the president.
The great one,
Done.
Mark Lavin. His new show, his new slot, 8 p.m. Sunday night.